Hello, everyone. We're going to be talking about a couple of different things today. Um, I actually remembered to turn on my little pointer. We're going to go ahead, have a little agenda. So, I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about just some business aspects. Maybe you can incorporate them if you want into your presentations. It'll just make your presentation stronger. I understand you are not business students, and so I wanted to go ahead and present a couple of things to you. Again, just resources. Then we'll talk about an opportunity for you as far as extra credit. And then I want to show you some examples of title slides as we start approaching towards your final presentation so that you can have at least a good idea of where to start. So in business, we really have this fascination, what we call a matrix. And they're really good at presenting quick and easy information, being able to tell where you are. So in this example, we have a price quality matrix. And the reason for this matrix is because it's very hard to have a very low price, high quality. The lower the price you're charging, you have to make your what we call a margin. So the quality is going to go. So if we look at price on this axis, quality on this axis, and we broke it up into, low is down here, so low price, low quality, high price, low quality, there is such a thing. We can see where we fit, and normally you do fit. When you're starting out a business, you start thinking, okay, what do I want to be, or what can I be? So low is generally, I don't know if you have them out there on the East Coast, but we have 99-cent stores, just obviously low price, but the quality also tends to be very low. You can have high price, low quality. This happens a lot when you just have a good brand name and you don't necessarily have to produce because people just think you're good, but you're not. I think one of the best examples is if we back in the 80s with the DeLorean, so the Back to the Future car, very high price, very low quality. Now you can also have very high quality at a very high price. So, if you think of probably even name brand or brands in fashion that you're not even familiar with, but like even if we're talking like Hermes and items like that, where they don't do sales, where they're not really concerned with having outlets, they just know they're going to charge a high price, but you also tend to get a high quality. Custom made items tend to be in this area. And then you do have, high quality at a low price. And that tends to be where people would like to be. Just sounds like the most attractive. It's very difficult to do. It's usually done when a business either is just starting out or wants to expand. So you have to just start offering things at a lower price to attract people, but you need to keep the quality high. And it's not necessarily a sustainable space. Now, again, it is achievable. Very, very difficult. Not necessarily realistic with anything that you're going to be presenting, unless you have a very great explanation of how that's going to be achieved. So this is just another example of a matrix, and this is a very famous matrix. This is a matrix developed by the Boston Consulting Group. And this again, kind of just where do we want to be as far as what we're offering. And so up here in the high, this is what we call the stars. It's going to be, this is just awesome stuff. So especially if you think of like iPhones earlier on, didn't matter what the price was, didn't matter what was going on. It was just going to be a thing. And it also allowed it, as we can see today with like iPhone, whatever number they're on, it was continuous. So it keeps going. It was amazing. It's still amazing. This is just the thing we're going to ride on as long as we can. Now over here in the high growth, low market share, what we call question mark. Like we're not, it could work out, it couldn't, it might kind of, I don't know. This is where we're going to take our chances, but it could easily fall into another category after once we start. Now here are the low market or low growth, high market share. So this is like we just like milk, and we call this our cash cow. So there's nothing too exciting about milk. We're not going to see these huge surges and like, oh, we have to get milk this year. It's just kind of steady, but a lot of people drink it. So, and that's what our market share is. How much of the market is it taking up? And so it's just good, steady. We like it, make money off of it. It's probably the foundation of what we do. And then over here, low growth, low share. So it's the worst of both worlds. We call these our dogs because we're not really going anywhere with it. So let's think of, for those of you who remember, VCRs. So at this point, we're not really expanding into VCR markets. People aren't like, hey, can't wait for VCRs to show up again. And not many people have VCRs. So this is kind of absolutely where you don't want to be. And one of the things I do want to point out is to be very critical of these graphs when you see them. So in marketing, we call these perception maps. And a lot of that has to do with your perception or someone else's perception. For example, pay attention to the axes. Not premium down here, but offering high value. Is that how we really think of Walmart? Same over here, we're talking about premium, but we're also saying Whole Foods has low value. Well, not to someone who wants those products. So be very careful, not only with the products you're producing, if you're using this in your slides, but if you're getting information from others, realize there's a lot of perception based in these, and they're not necessarily an absolute truth. So just, I want you to keep that in mind. And that's something you should keep in mind with all research materials. All right, so let's talk about an opportunity for you to engage in if you so choose. You will, if you so choose, you will go into the student presentation file and you will produce a critique. So memo format, direct informative. And so in that, with that in mind, these are the elements I'm going to be looking at there. You're using the appropriate format, the appropriate elements of the format, the quality and presentation of your delivery. So if you just do one huge block paragraph, even though we've discussed not doing that, or you just don't write a quality product, that is something I'm going to be looking at. Appropriate citations and an acceptance statement. And we'll go over that in the next couple of slides of what that is. At this point, I am expecting your memos to be of very high quality. So that's what I'll be these are the elements I will be looking for. So what the acceptance statement is in your concluding paragraph, you will put this statement that you accept and understand the terms and conditions of this opportunity. And what that means is that there's negative consequences established with this, because I get it, you want extra credit, but I also don't want to have to read something that you just threw together in 2 minutes, hoping that you would get extra credit because it was just available. So these will be graded. For those of you that are able to get a 96 or above, you will get 6 points added to your grade. 91 to 95, 4 points. 80 to 90, 2 points. 74 to 79, there just won't be any extra credit. Like I said, there is an expectation now that your memos are of a higher quality. And then for those of you that do score 73 or below, there'll be a point taken away. So I want you to be very cognizant of your actions and what you're going to produce. Now, as a suggestion, obviously, if you feel or your performance has shown that this is the area you're going to fall into. So if you're going to fall into 79 or below, I highly suggest not trying to turn in this assignment. Maybe concentrate your efforts on the other assignments to bring up their quality. Likewise, if you're constantly performing in this area here, you might just want to save yourself some time and effort and possibly work on the upcoming assignments again to raise their quality and to save yourself some time. This could be very beneficial to those who fall into these areas because it could be the difference between a letter grade. But I do want you to keep in mind these options and where you feel that you're going to fall within the spectrum. All right, so I wanted to take a look at some title pages for presentations. So this is actually one that I used for one of my projects. It did start off as a class, but we do this. He's gone. We don't like it. And so this is a slide that I did not make, and that's why I like it. It looks nice. But just some things to look at. We do have our logo. It does give a bit of information of what we're talking about. And then high quality resolution slides is what you want to go for. And we did do a little alteration here to make it fit into what we were going for. This is just another example, different way to go. So this is actually from my industry report when I was an undergrad for essentially the same sequence of assignments. So this is what I produced for my slides. My industry was this beverage industry. So this is an example of what to do. I tend to like the darker colors on the background, but sometimes the dark color is not appropriate. So think about what you're doing. On the previous slide, we want brighter. That was the feel of that particular pitch. So think about that. What are appropriate colors and designs for your slides? And the reason this is important is your title slide, much like when someone meets you for the first time, is the first introduction to you. So your slides represent you. So nicer slides are going to reflect favorably upon yourself. Now, as suggestions, remember, we're trying to connect with our audience. People enjoy people. So possibly having your photos or your designs include people. Remember our good old soybean farming? If this was just pictures of soybeans, not really good connection. But now we have what we're talking about. So we're talking about soybean farming. And we give it a little title, The Faces Behind the Bean. Remember, we want to connect to humans. People like connecting to humans. So that's the connection. And we're assuming that our industry report is connecting to the impact on the industry on humans, which is always a good way to go because that's what we want. We want to know how this connects to people. We're also concerned with money. Book saying, the billion-dollar industry, kind of cold. And so face on the people. And that's one of the reasons you're in your validation, you're doing the stakeholders. Like, how does this idea affect someone? Now, also, we in this one included a brief little summary. So, okay, the faces behind the bean. What does that mean? Well, it's an analysis of leveraging essential crop for investor profitability. Again, so look, just an example. The thing I'm talking about, connection to people, a connection to profit. So soybeans equals people and profits. And down at the bottom, we do presented by. In this case, went ahead and included a little logo. So all this is presented by Pot of Soy. So does it really make a difference? Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at something hastily put together. A little clip art photo. Didn't do any editing. I just put this on. Really using a standard background, which a lot of us just recognize as being a standard background. You can tell when PowerPoint backgrounds are used because we've all used them. So it shows just a lack of effort Um, Not only does it show that you don't care, but just putting soybean farming, I'm not really that interested. The colors don't really go well together. This just gives the impression that you don't care. And if you don't care, why should I care? And so it doesn't start off the presentation well. And even if I start adding bits and pieces, it's still just, it just lacks. And so I just wanted to go over those examples for you. We'll talk a little bit more as we go about some other business elements to include. Again, understanding that you're not business students, just giving you some things to look at for your presentations.